The most mysterious and bizarre thing in Shaanxi is corpse driving, and my grandfather personally experienced a terrifying thing in the Shaanxi corpse driving inn. Today's story is more bizarre than you can imagine. When I was a child, my family lived in Yalu Shannan Laojai in Shaanxi Tujia and Miao Autonomous Prefecture. It was around 1960. My grandfather worked in the country's power department as a field lineman, shuttling between the mountains every day to lay cables. Once, his partner was bitten by a poisonous snake while delivering a head, and my grandfather carried him for a long time until dark. They had not yet left the mountain, and it seemed that someone would die if they continued like this. Grandpa was so anxious at that time. At this moment, he suddenly saw a little light on the hillside, which made Grandpa feel relieved. He hurriedly supported the head of the family and walked towards the hut. When he got closer, he saw that the hut was very shabby. There was a pole at the door with a white lantern and a shabby raincoat hanging on it. Grandpa didn't care much at that time. He just pushed open the door and shouted for help. At this time, a hunchbacked old man came out of the house. The old man seemed difficult to communicate with and was unwilling to take him in. They were about to die and their lives were in danger. Grandpa had no choice but to beg the old man, saying that we were powerline workers, not bad people, and asked him to help. When the old man heard that he was laying wires for the village and was bitten by a poisonous snake, he hesitated for a moment, and finally agreed to let them stay. But then the old man told them that they could only stay in the inner room and could not come out no matter what they heard. After that, he took them to the innermost room, brought snake medicine in no time, and told Grandpa how to use it. He gave the head, washed the poisonous blood, and then applied the snake medicine on him. After that, he was still unsure whether it would work. The old man went out after seeing that Grandpa had applied the medicine to him. Before leaving, he emphasized once again that they must not go out tonight. The night in the mountain was very cold, and that night he and Song Rentu squeezed into a bed, wanting to take a nap. At this moment, there was a sudden sound of gongs outside, which was particularly harsh in the quiet night. The sound was getting closer and closer, and it was obviously coming here. Grandpa listened carefully to the sound of the gong, and stopped at the door of the house, and then heard the old man say, "There are strangers in the house today, let's all be careful." Because the conversation mentioned them, Grandpa was also very curious. Not knowing what they meant by that, he leaned over the window to take a peek to see if they were doing anything shameful. This glimpse scared Grandpa to death. He saw a man in a red robe and a bamboo hat, shaking a copper bell in his hand, leading a few strange people into the house. The leader looked very scary, tall and thin, and half of his face seemed to have been injured, leaving a terrible scar. The people behind him were even stranger, walking unsteadily, wearing bamboo hats on their heads, and with talismans on their faces. They didn't look like living people, they seemed. They were all commanded by the copper bell and stood side by side at the door. Grandpa realized at this time that he had encountered the legendary corpse driving in western Hunan. And the place where they lived was the inn where the corpse driving people lived. The man in the red robe in the corpse driving inn should be the corpse driving craftsman. When Grandpa was guessing, Song Rentu, who had been unconscious on the bed behind him, suddenly stood up and staggered towards the outside. He looked exactly like the corpses guided by the copper bell. Grandpa saw this and quickly grabbed him, but their movements alarmed the corpse driving craftsman outside, who strode into their room. Seeing him come in, Grandpa got nervous for a moment. The corpse driver said, "You young men have no rules at all. If you bump into the corpse or blow it up, it will kill many people." But although this man was very powerful, he still helped Grandpa put the head back on the bed, and then rang the bell again, muttering a spell that he couldn't understand, and the head slowly calmed down. The corpse driver stopped ringing the bell and chanting. Then he told Grandpa that his life was saved, but he could be summoned by my ghost. This kid won't live more than 3 years. Grandpa was skeptical about what the corpse driver said. The corpse driver was famous for his good health. He said that he would not live more than 3 years, so Grandpa naturally didn't believe it. Who knew that because of this corpse driver's body, he became ill and died after 2 years of care at home before he lived for 3 years.